US President Donald Trump's so-called deal of the century appears to have backfired. We have indeed witnessed an outpour of condemnation, not just from the Palestinians, not just from the region, but from the international community. Iran says the initiative will go to the dustbin of history. By the way, one Arab official did actually throw a copy of Trump's plan into the dustbin. Check this out.
نيابة عن كل الشعوب العربية والإسلامية وكل شرفاء وأحرار العالم أقول هذه وثائق ومستندات ما يسمى بصفقة القرن. مكانها المناسب والحقيقي هو مزبلة التاريخ. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
That was actually the Speaker of the Parliament of Kuwait. Now, if anything, the unveiling of this plan has managed to unite different Palestinian factions who have not always seen eye to eye. Welcome to Palestine Files. I'm your host, Wissam Bahrani. On this episode, we're going to focus on the reaction to Trump's so-called deal of the century. It was indeed a rare show of Palestinian unity. If anything, the unveiling of US President Donald Trump's so-called deal of the century has managed to unite Palestinians from all walks of life in their opposition to the plan. Members from the Gaza-based Hamas and Islamic Jihad resistance movements and the West Bank-based Palestinian Liberation Organization have attended a speech by Mahmoud Abbas in Ramallah. The Palestinian president has confirmed he has spoken with Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh. According to Abbas, they agreed to move forward and stand together as a unified front in the aftermath of the unveiling of the so-called deal of the century. The Palestinian president says the deal was made according to policy set by Israel. Abbas has also slammed the White House plan for a Palestinian state without Jerusalem, Al-Quds, saying no Palestinian child, Muslim or Christian, will accept such a thing. Palestinian officials are hopeful that the unveiling of the initiative by Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will boost efforts of reconciliation between rival Palestinian factions. It's a very hot topic on social media. Here are some of those comments, starting with Maria, who says the deal of the century united Muslims throughout the world. Indeed, it has, Maria. United not just the Islamic world, but the Arab world, barring some Persian Gulf nations. Moving to Joanne, who says Trump's deal belongs in the trash, along with himself. That's one viewpoint from Joanne. Let's move on to Swamp Fox, who says BDS now more than ever. That's in reference to the boycott, divestment and sanctions movement, which promotes various forms of boycott against Israel until Tel Aviv meets its obligations under international law. Let's move to Robert G. McDonald, who says opportunity finally for own states start rebuilding. No, we think we'll hang with Hezbollah and keep trying to push the Israelis into the sea. Good luck with that. Robert believes the deal of the century will bring about a Palestinian state. Everyone's entitled to their viewpoint. Warren Oakes says opportunity for their own state. Are you joking? That's probably in reference to Robert there. Answered by Warren. Let's move on to Rebecca, who says Trump and Netanyahu are two criminals guilty of war crimes, bribery, fraud and corruption. Unfit to lead, put them in jail, she says. The peace plan is a violation of international law and the legal Oslo agreement signed by Israel and Palestine. Illegal attempt to thieve more Palestinian land. That's by Rebecca. And I do believe we have one more. Do we? No? No, we don't. Yes, we do. Here it comes. Bernard Betabara says the United Nations has rejected US President Donald Trump's deal of the century. and reiterated that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict should be solved based on UN resolutions and international law. Another very valid point. That was social media. Let's get some more reaction, this time from the Palestinians themselves, from all walks of life on the ground in the occupied territories.
الشعب الفلسطيني جاهز ومستعد لأي مواجهة مع أي أحد يحاول، سواء كان أمريكي أو إسرائيلي، يحاول فرض أي شيء على شعبنا بلغة القوة. لغة القوة لن ولم تنفع مع شعبنا، وجربوها بالماضي، وشعبنا مر بانتفاضة أولى وانتفاضة ثانية ومر بحروب، ولن تكون له ولن يمر عليه أي لغة من هذه اللغة سوى لغة الدم ستتحدث بها الشارع الفلسطيني.
الشعب الفلسطيني مستعد للدفاع عن أرضه وما زال صامد منذ عام 1919، وهو يدافع عن أرضه وسيستمر بالدفاع عن أرضه ويحدوه الأمل بالانتصار.
احنا جربنا المقاومة وجربنا السلام وفشلنا في الخيارين. نحن نحتاج إلى استراتيجية أولا تستطيع أن تقودنا سواء بمقاومة سلمية أو مقاومة شعبية أو مسلحة أو من خلال السلام. غير ذلك لا نستطيع أن نواجه الاحتلال الإسرائيلي. نحن نريد قيادة موحدة مشتركة، فصائل متحدة، عمل موحد، عمل وطني يجمع كل الفصائل، وبعدها نتحدث إذا كان ذلك ممكنا أو غير ممكنا أو شكل المقاومة الممكنة. أما الحديث عن مقاومة في الوقت الحالي مسلحة بدون استراتيجية وبدون قيادة موحدة وقيادة تستطيع أن ترى أين الشعب وأين عذبات الشعب وأين احتياجات الشعب، أعتقد أن الموضوع يحتاج إلى إعادة نظر.
الفلسطيني سوف يستمر بالصمود، وكما اندثرت دول احتلت فلسطين سابقا واستمرت كالصليبيين لمئات السنوات وفي النهاية زالت، كذلك ستزول أي قوة غاشمة ومحتلة في أي زمان وفي أي مكان.
We're going to bring in our first guest of the show. Charlotte Cates is the international coordinator of the Samadoun Palestinian Prisoner Solidarity Network. Ms. Cates, welcome. If I could start by asking, how can the unity of Palestinian factions disrupt Israeli-American plots against them?
Well, for any people, any movement in a national liberation stage, unity is very important to confronting colonialism, to confronting imperialism, to confronting Zionism and racism. And the Palestinian people, once again, are united. The Palestinian people have a vision of liberation, of return, of equality and justice. And again, there are people around the world and states and movements and the Arab world and the region as a whole, including Iran, who are upholding Palestinian rights. This unity needs to be directed towards the interests of the Palestinian people in confronting Zionism and imperialism in all of its forms and building the international isolation of Israel.
And how has the unveiling of the so-called deal of the century worked, both to the advantage and disadvantage of the Palestinians?
On the one hand, the fact that such a so-called deal can even be offered and presented in public, shows the complete and utter disregard that U.S. imperialism and Zionism have for the Palestinian people and their inalienable rights that are being confiscated on a daily basis. At the same time, the so-called deal of the century isn't something entirely new. It's part of the ongoing series of attacks on the Palestinian people that have stretched out over 100 years of colonialism and that have certainly really characterized the peace process from its very beginning. It's always been an attempt to liquidate the Palestinian people, their resistance, and their struggle for liberation. So on the one hand, it's a really appalling situation. On the other hand, nobody can say that the interests of Zionism and imperialism are not clear to everybody around the world, and that what we're looking at here is a detailed plan for the dismantling of the Palestinian people and their land, throughout the entire land of historic Palestine.
Charlotte Cates, the international coordinator of the Samadoun Palestinian Prisoner Solidarity Network, thank you very much for that analysis. Dear viewers, we're going to take a very short break and be right back with the rest of the show, so don't go anywhere.
Under this vision, Jerusalem will remain Israel's undivided, very important, undivided capital.
The unveiling of the so-called deal of the century has triggered regional and international condemnation. The leader of Iran's Islamic Revolution says Trump's attempt to end the West Asian conflict will die sooner than Trump himself. Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei says the Americans have made a deal with the Zionists over something that is not theirs to give away in the first place. The Secretary General of the Lebanese Hezbollah resistance movement says Washington has committed a major crime. Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah has slammed the initiative, saying it is aimed at eradicating the Palestinian cause. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says it's not a peace project, but a project to expand Israeli occupation. The Malaysian Prime Minister says the US-crafted deal gives the green light to Tel Aviv's occupation of Palestine. Mahathir Mohamad says it will only bring more conflict to the region. EU lawmakers at the European Parliament also strongly condemned the plan, while Russia says the proposal is a violation of international laws and regulations. Meanwhile, protesters across the region poured their anger onto the streets following the announcement by Trump.
كل الأحرار في العالم، ليست المواطنين العرب فقط من الخليج المحيط، ولكل الأحرار في العالم الوقوف صفا واحدا ضد هذا القرار الهمجي الذي يعتبر خرقا لكل المواثيق والأعراف الدولية.
هذه تظاهرة شعبية، لا أقول إنها لنصرة شعب، ولكن لنصرة الحق، لنصرة الحقيقة، لنصرة الإنسانية.
الحضور ديالنا اليوم في هذه المسيرة ديال الرباط هو لمساندة القضية الفلسطينية، لقول لا كمغربي كعربي كمسلم لا لصفقة القر. هذه الصفقة اللي لا تمثل المغاربة، لا تمثل العرب المسلمين الأحرار. حضورنا الآن هو للتعبير بقوة كما عبرت جميع الفعاليات اللي حاضرة هنايا على أن القضية الفلسطينية هي قضية الجميع.
In the wake of the unveiling of the so-called deal of the century, there were many talking points about, or that sprung up with regards to the Palestinians. These are some of the major ones. Firstly, they have all rejected it. Literally, we tried to find one Palestinian who supported the plan. We couldn't. The unity of rival Palestinian factions, especially in their opposition to the plan. The Ramallah-based Palestinian Authority has cut all relations with the United States and Israel. And we have also seen that the resistance against Israel has grown and expanded. Now, the topic has also made headlines around the world. Let's see what those reports said. Time to bring in our second and final guest of the show. Amani Al-Hindi Barakat is the organizer of Al-Awda. Ms. Barakat, welcome to Palestine Files. What can you tell us about the future of a possible unification of Palestinian factions on the backdrop of the unveiling of the deal of the century?
Look, this is a geopolitical question, and as you know, it is interconnected with larger forces than the Palestinians themselves. No doubt, unity can be achieved if Palestinians have self-determination. I also believe a true reconciliation requires sincere, constructive actions, not just talks or signing of agreements. The last reconciliation agreement was signed in Cairo in October 2017, and most of its terms were not implemented, including the lifting of many of the crippling sanctions that were imposed by the PA on Gaza, or holding general elections within 1 year and reaching an agreement on the formation of an interim government.
Okay, so not as easy as many think. Now, will the resistance threaten Israeli-US plans?
Reconciliations and unity within the Palestinians and the resistant forces will profoundly threaten Israelis and the US policies. I believe it would reclaim our agenda, transcending political infighting and reviving our national project. It will also disturb Israel's political and military tactics entirely and places Tel Aviv and the US on the defensive. So definitely, I think it's a threat to both plans of Israel and the US.
Okay, finally, Ms. Barakat, did you see the reaction of the international community as siding with the Palestinians?
I think so. I think the international community, as well as the United Nations, have rejected Trump's colonial document, and all have reiterated that Israeli-Palestinian conflict should be solved based on a United Nations resolution and international law. Many have said this deal violates international law. So let's not forget that the majority of the world's population has always been on the side of the Palestinian people because of our just cause. Governments, however, have different calculations and find themselves siding with the aggressors for political and economic gains in the international arena. But for the most part, I think the international community have been siding with the Palestinians, especially after the deal of the century.
Amani Al-Hindi Barakat, organizer of Al-Awda organization, thank you for joining Palestine Files. Now, we sat down with Hussein Hamayel. He is the official spokesman for the West Bank-based Fatah movement, and which belongs to the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. Now, that's a crucial figure and a crucial player in all of this, so it's crucial that we hear what his perspective is.
لكن أنا بحكي لك الوضع في الضفة الغربية، اعتداءات المستوطنين، اعتداءات جيش الاحتلال، إضافة إلى أنه تحاول حكومة الاحتلال بفرض الوقائع على الأرض. أنا بحكي لك سنتصدى لهذه الخطة ولتطبيق هذه الخطة في الأغوار وفي ما يسمى بضم المستوطنات وقضم الأراضي الجديدة بكل ما أوتينا من إمكانيات وقوة، بأجسادنا، بدمنا، بعرقنا، لأنه في النهاية هي أرضنا ولن نسمح بأن يكون هناك مصادرة لأرضنا وسرقة لأرضنا ونحن كفلسطينيين موجودين. نحن نتباهى كمسلمين ومسيحيين في فلسطين أننا خط الدفاع الأول عن العالم أجمع، ونحن نعيد ونكرر بأن ما حصل في صفقة ترامب ما هي إلا مسرحية هزيلة تحدى فيها ترامب ليس الشعب الفلسطيني وإنما الدول العالم والأمم المتحدة ومجلس الأمن، وكان ذلك واضحا وجليا بعد التصريحات والبيانات والاتصالات التي وصلتنا من جميع دول العالم بدون استثناء تسجب وتستنكر هذه الصفقة ولا تعترف بها. وكان آخرها موضوع الاتحاد الأوروبي عندما أقر بأنه لن يعترف بالسيادة الإسرائيلية على أراضي المحتلة عام 67. بالنسبة لنا كفلسطينيين، مجرد أنه تم طرح الصفقة بدون أن تكون القدس على الطاولة، فكل ما أتى بعدها مرفوض. هذا يعني الموقف الرسمي الفلسطيني. القدس بمقدساتها، اللاجئين، الثوابت الفلسطينية، إن لم تكن حاضرة على الطاولة لن نقبل. وإذا كان هناك حل من خلال القوة الاحتلال، من خلال الجيش الإسرائيلي، من خلال كل قوة العالم، فليأتوا وليأخذوا هذه البلاد. شعب محاصر، شعب لا نملك القوة والأدوات العسكرية التي تملكها دولة الاحتلال، وهذا واقع. ولكن أنا بحكي لك نحن كما كنا سابقا على استعداد لندافع عن أرضنا، والأهم أن الفكر الرصين الثابت عند الشعب الفلسطيني أننا موجودين على هذه الأرض ولن نخرج من هذه الأرض، ونموت في هذه الأرض ولن نخرج. ولكن أنا بحكي لك هم يبنوا مستوطنات الآن، ويحاولوا تهويد القدس بكثير من المشاريع التي تطرحها الحكومة الإسرائيلية. ولكن في النهاية أنا بحكي لك أنه بالنسبة لنا كفلسطينيين قد يأخذوا الأرض بالقوة، ولكن نحن لن نسلم ولن نستسلم. خطوات أولا بدأت في موضوع إيقاف كل الاتفاقيات الموقعة من دولة الاحتلال، ونتقدم قليلا إلى الأمام بأن السلطة الوطنية الفلسطينية والفصائل الفلسطينية مجمعة على أننا في النهاية إذا لم نأخذ حقوقنا كاملة فلتأتي إسرائيل وتتحمل مسؤوليتها كسلطة احتلال. سنلغي كل الاتفاقيات، الآن تم إيقاف العمل بها، وأنا بحكي لك الأيام القادمة ويجب أن نذهب باتجاه أعمق وأقوى لمواجهة هذه الصفقة. والقيادة الفلسطينية التي استطاعت أن ترفض صفقة القرض وأن تقول لأمريكا لا، أنا بحكي لك هذه القيادة ستتخذ أي موقف من أجل الشعب الفلسطيني وثوابت الشعب الفلسطيني. هذا أولا. ثانيا، بما يخص ترتيب البيت الداخلي الفلسطيني، بالنسبة لنا من أهم الأمور في مواجهة صفقة القرض. والشيء الأخير هو تفعيل المقاومة الشعبية على مستوى الوطن في الضفة وفي غزة وفي القدس وفي الشتات. هذه طبعا الشتات يعني له تحركات أخرى، أما نحن في داخل هذه البلاد على أتم الاستعداد من أجل الاشتباك مع هذا الاحتلال ومع قوات هذا الاحتلال ومع مستوطنوه بالمقاومة الشعبية. نحن لن ننجر إلى ما تريده دولة الاحتلال لتقضي على الشعب الفلسطيني وتقتل الشعب الفلسطيني.
This deal of the century has been repeatedly mentioned as a one-sided deal. That's because it was negotiated between Washington on one side and Tel Aviv on the other. The Palestinians, they didn't have a say. If they did, the initiative would have included their rights, of which they are entitled to under international law. The very same rights the Palestinians have been demanding for decades. Maybe it's about time we listen to the main party in all this, or in this case, at least include them in the negotiating table and ensure a lasting peace in this conflict. Dear viewers, thank you for watching Palestine Files, and see you next week.